Hi guys, I had one of my viewers ask me about this fine adjustment I made for the LeBlond taper attachment, and I think he thought maybe it would read the angles and stuff, but this is just a fine adjustment because when I like to do an MT3 or an R8, I put one in between centers on the lathe and then run the carriage back and forth and adjust the taper attachment until I get a zero reading on an indicator running the length of the taper between centers. So I'll get you down here, I'll show you a little bit more about what I did here to make this little attachment. It'll just be a short video here, so we'll stop here and get reset up so you can see the attachment. All right, here's my taper attachment here that I made. Just a fine adjustment for the taper attachment, excuse me. Anyway, start with, on the end of your taper, the lower section of it, this is a piece on top that moves back and forth and you lock down for your carriage to follow for the taper. There's the bottom piece, and actually the top piece, has a radius on there. So what I did was I took, on that radius, on the end, they were both ends were tapped, drilled and tapped for 1/4 I put a couple little blocks on there and screwed them fast to that, so I'd have a mounting spot for this piece of 3/8 by 1.5" this was, plate, so I could mount the rest of the taper attachment to it, or the fine adjustment to it. I'll get that right. Anyway, on the bottom here, I put a piece of 1-inch square stock, milled this other side down of this piece. Well, it's bolted fast with a couple of socket head cap screws. The other side I milled down lower. I'm not sure exactly what I took off of that. Let's see. Milled that down to 5/8 on this side. So I could drop this down so I could run this 5/16 fine threaded rod nice and straight to the top piece of the taper attachment. I've got a 5/16 fine thread to 1/4" 20 ball joint here, so it'll tilt back and forth, and it'll do the arc. Both ends have to arc when you adjust this in or out, because otherwise it'd be in a bind. This end here was another piece of, I believe, 1-inch, yeah, square stock, and it was let's see, just under 1 3/4, about 1 5/8, a little over, and let's see, this way here by 1 inch. Anyway, I drilled a little hole in that for an oil hole to give it a little bit of oil. This piece here was a piece of, started out with a piece of I don't know, 1 3/4 or something like that, roughly. Hard to get a measurement accurately right here, but then I put it in the lathe, dropped this size down to 3/4 width, and I said it was about 1 3/4. Yeah, somewhere. No, yeah, somewhere in there. I turned it down a little bit, and then it's turned down to 1.5 long, turned down to, hope I'm not getting in the way here. This is approximately 1/2 inch down here, maybe a little bit more. Can't really measure it. And on the bottom, it's turned down to the same dimension as this piece. Both ends, well, this is, and the bottom piece of this one turned down. Now, this rod, I wanted to have the rod so it would stay, you know, just move back and forth without sticking out on this end, but it just wouldn't work out, so I had to let it come out this end long enough and then go back and forth with it. Both ends, this end has to make an arc too. Both ends have to arc a little bit as you're moving it in and out. And it works real fine for fine adjustments, because on these taper attachments, on the LeBlond lathes, you've got a lock bolt on both ends, but to set it without this fine adjustment, you have to tap this back and forth a little bit with a plastic mallet or something, a little at a time. it always goes a few thousandths too much one way or another all the time. But I can fine tune it a lot faster with this. And I've got everything set with cap screws and stuff to hold it all in place. On the top and the bottom, I use this shaft lock. This one don't matter on this end because it faces up against this piece, and you draw this up against it so there's not much play back and forth here. Same with the bottom, so it can articulate without moving, see? It's nice and tight. And then you do your fine adjustments. And when I do, I think I mentioned that, when I do my fine adjustments, I use a MT3 or an R8 in the lathe chuck between centers. Run the carriage back and forth with a dial indicator to get the 0 set on the dial indicator to get your taper set. And once you get that all set, you just lock your 2 bolts down on each end to hold it in place and go from there. I mean, it's just so much faster, easier to have a fine adjustment on here than to tap this top slide back. This is what sets your taper, and the carriage follows this piece on top. It's just so much faster than tapping it back and forth with a mallet. Anyway, this does work really good. I've used it several times already, and so it took a lot of thinking to get this all lined up, so, you know, so it was straight and the right height and all that, but it works fine. I'm really happy I took the time and made it. So it'd be the end of this one. It's just going to be a short one. So I've had a couple subscribers ask me about this, and I thought I'd kind of show them exact measurements. I'm close on some of them because I'd have to tear it all apart to get exact measurements, but all you got to do is maintain this height here on your 5/16, so it's, I mean, pretty straight and parallel with this top slide here. And it can be just a little bit because you've got a ball in here that will move back and forth in both directions. Works fine. Anyway, it does save a lot of headaches. So, okay, I'll end this right here. It was just a small, short video and help out some people. Bye.